I don't want to be too dramatic, but I can tell you this. If you've got a burning desire to start a business, an overwhelming urge to become self-employed, to control your own destiny, but you're not sure what kind of business to start, I've got a great suggestion for you, and that is up next. About 20 years ago, I was working for a financial organization. I was working there and I was unhappy. I can't say that I hated the job, but I didn't like it. You know, I felt confined. I felt like I was just chained to this desk and I was chained to this career and that this was going to be my lot in life unless I made a change. Now, I knew I wanted to be self-employed because being self-employed to me at that time meant that I would be able to control my destiny, that I wouldn't have these chains on my feet, and that I could do my own thing. But you know what? I didn't know what kind of business to start. I just knew I wanted to be self-employed. So what I did is I did a little bit of research. I talked to some business owners that I knew, some people who had been in business and had been in business for a long time. And I asked them their opinion. I also read a lot of books. I also watched a lot of TV shows, a lot of business programs. I looked at magazine articles and I studied them too. You know, I wanted to get an idea, what kind of business could I start that I was able to start with no money? Because at that time I didn't have any money. I just didn't have any capital. I just knew that I wanted to be self-employed. You know, like I said, I had this burning desire, this urge. I just had to do it. What I concluded was the only type of business that made any sense at all was a service-based business. And that's the kind of business I started. Now, what I want to do is share with you 5 good reasons that I found to start a service-based business, and that's up next. Reason number 1 for starting a service-based business is you don't need a lot of capital. In other words, you don't need a lot of money to start the business. You can literally start the business on a shoestring if that's what you decide that you want to do. Now, a lot of people get into this because their barriers of entry to low. Again, you don't need a lot of money to start it. You have people who are doing business, whether it's, you could be walking a dog for clients, you could be providing marketing services for a manufacturer or a retailer, you could become a graphic designer and provide services for your clients. There are a number of things that you can do to provide services that don't require a huge investment. You don't need a big infrastructure. You don't need to hire employees, usually when you're starting out in a service business. So a lot of people get into a service business because of the very fact that you don't need to spend a lot of money to start that business. You start it, you build it, you watch it grow, and as time goes on, then you can make your own decisions on how much money you want to invest in the business. But the barrier to entry is low, as I said, so a lot of people start a service-based business for that very reason. You don't have to spend a lot of money to start that business. Reason number 2 for starting a service-based business is that you can do the work yourself. And that's a great way to start a business because you don't have to worry about expenses. You don't have to worry about the expense, rather, of paying an employee to do the work. You don't have to pay a worker. So every week, at the end of the week, you don't have to pay anybody but yourself. At the end of every couple weeks, if that's how you structure it, you don't have to worry about paying anybody but yourself. So to me, whenever I start a service-based business, I know that in the beginning, while I'm developing the business and those important days when that business is in its infancy and it's growing, the only real expense I'm going to have is me. I want to make sure that I get paid. So I have my revenue, which is what I charge, minus my expenses, and that money flows right down to the bottom line, and that money flowing to the bottom line means it's flowing into my pocket. So a service-based business, that's my number 2 reason for starting a service-based business. Reason number 3 for starting a service-based business, it's the ability to change direction. The ability to change direction. And what I mean by that is, say you had a retail operation. You're selling a product in your store or a number of products in your store and the products aren't selling. Well, what do? Now, if you have a retail operation and you've got inventory, now you've got to replace that inventory. So you've got a lot of expense now that you're going to incur because you have to change inventory. Or if you have a manufacturing company and the products that you're creating, that you're building, they're not selling either. So what do? Now you've got to retool. Now you've got to come up with new products. So you don't have the ability to change direction quickly. You don't have the ability to change direction without a big investment. One of the great things about starting a service-based business is the fact that you can change direction quickly. You can meet your customers' demands, you can see where the market's going, and you can follow that market. To me, on a service-based business, the ability to change direction is key. It's critical. What I've learned over time, in 20-some years of being self-employed, what I've learned is sometimes you go down a certain road. You go down a path that you think is the right path, and at certain times, you have to change. You have to change direction. You might have to stop and restart. It's easier to change direction when you have a service-based business. And that is my number 3 reason for starting a service-based business. Reason number 4 for starting a service-based business, it's a quicker road to cash flow. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is more often than not, when you have a service-based business, you're doing the work yourself, and you are the main expense. You don't have to worry about paying for an employee or employees. You're doing the work. So whatever you charge, minus your whatever expenses that you might have, that difference will flow right down to the bottom line. And that bottom line can help you in many, many ways. You can use that money to reinvest in supplies. You might want to purchase some equipment. You can also use that money for marketing or for advertising. The difference would be is though that money also flows into your pocket, and you need that to sustain yourself. Of course you need it to sustain yourself, but a quicker road to cash flow. That is my number 4 reason for starting a service-based business. Reason number 5 for starting a service-based business, I can sum that up in one word: flexibility. And what do I mean by that? Well, a lot of times when you're starting out a business, you want to keep a full-time gig going while you're building your business, or maybe you want to start a part-time or keep a part-time job going while you're starting your business. When you have a service-based business, you can set the hours that are convenient for you. That means you're just going to work the hours that's best for you. Now, granted, you do want to work hours that are good for your customer, because that's number 1. But the reality of the world is you might have to work a full-time job. You might have to work a part-time job so that you can make ends meet. Working a service-based business does give you the flexibility to set hours that are best for you. And that's my number 5 reason for starting a service-based business. I've just given you 5 what I consider great reasons to start a service-based business, and I'm not sure which one of those 5 are the most and would be the most important to you. Certainly all 5 of those reasons were reasons why I decided, at least initially some 20-some years ago, to start my very first business. And it was a service-based business because it just made sense. You know, we had the low barrier to entry, which I knew was going to be important to me. You know, I also had the flexibility of hours, so I could start that service-based business, you know, on a part-time basis. I didn't have to quit my full-time job, so I could keep that job so I could still have income coming in while I'm building my business. What I found later on is the ability to change direction was also key in that business, because yes, I went down a road, I went down the path that I thought was a good path to go, but you know, there were changes, there were adjustments I needed to make. So that ability to change was just so important to me. You know, having that cash flow is obviously important as well. And I saw that. I'm performing the service. So when I'm performing the service, you know, the difference is after my expenses, that money flowed to the bottom line, which I could use for, you know, buying supplies or buying equipment. So that was also a key element or key reason why, to me, starting a service-based business was important. But whatever reason would be the most important to you, I've given you 5 reasons, and I'm sure there are a lot of others. But consider starting a service-based business as your first business, or as a business that you want to do forever. So that's my reasons, my 5 reasons for starting a service-based business. My name is Lou Reyes. I am the host of Over 50 TV, and I look forward to meeting you and talking to you again soon.